Hello and welcome to Bomb Squad, In Dreams Club's PlayStation podcast. My name is Andrew Muggleton and I am joined as always by my very, very arrogant friend Chris Salone. How are you?
Arrogant?
Yeah.
Why am I arrogant?
I just get this feeling recently from you, you know? You keep on just putting your opinion across and just assuming it's just completely correct, you know? Like you don't even take mine into consideration anymore.
I feel
like we're growing apart.
I think that's incredibly unjustified
I don't know.
and naive.
I think we'll see towards the second half of this episode that's going to come. It's going to ring true.
I think if anyone here is arrogant, it might be you, sir.
Oh my lord! Oh my lord!
Which you can see by our most recent tier list video that we did, where we ranked all of the UK soft drinks, where you were like, "Ooh, 7-Up's better than Sprite," and I was like, "Oh, I don't know about that." You're no, it's all, and I was like, "I'm just not sure. I'm not sure we made the right decision."
No, that I'm sticking by my guns with that.
Arrogance.
But welcome as always to Bomb Squad. Now, Chris and I, we've got a bit of a different episode this week for you. We're gonna forego any news conversations because there hasn't been too much in the PlayStation world anyway. Ghost has done very well, reviews and sales wise. But today what we're gonna do is we're gonna split the podcast in two halves. The first half is gonna be what we mentioned a few episodes ago, where we're gonna try and create PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale Part 2. And we're going to go through who we think should be part of it, kind of what their abilities would be and things like that. And then for the second half, we have both now fully finished The Last of Us Part 2. So we are going to have a bit of a spoiler cast, a bit of a discussion around that, what we like, what we don't, what we think is going to happen with the game moving forward and things like that. But to kick it off, let's talk about PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. Okay, let's remind everyone what it actually is, because probably a lot of people don't even know that this game exists.
Yeah,
it's a pretty obscure thing, actually.
It's weird because I was so into it. I was so excited when it came out. I was playing it on my PS3. I had it on the Vita as well, and I was like farming those trophies just non-stop. But it's basically like, imagine Super Smash Bros. Yes. But like with PlayStation properties and
a couple of third-party things.
A couple of third-party stuff as well. But yeah, so you had like loads of characters to choose from. I think do you say there was 24?
I think 24 to start with, not including the DLC.
And
there's a couple of extras.
A couple of DLC ones added on, which we talked about in a quiz the other week, like a few episodes ago. And then you obviously just picked them. There was like a little story mode that was just kind of like an arcade sort of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of just to practice and learn the moves, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah. And then it was just sort of like you could have up to, I think, was it just 4-player?
I think it was 4-player.
Where you can pick different characters, different skins to them. Then it's just like Smash Bros. You just beat on them. There's a special move that can kill people, and then you rack points up like that.
Yeah.
Very similar to Smash Bros.
With PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, was this the one where you could actually only kill someone by using your special?
Yeah.
Which is slightly different than Smash, isn't it?
Yeah, because
Smash, you build up your percentage, and then essentially you once they've got to a certain amount, you can smash them off the side.
Yeah.
Or they can kind of instant die from that. But with this, I think you may be able to fall off the side of the
Yeah,
level,
I think some of them had things where you could fall off the side, but mostly it was by working up to a special move, and each character had 3. Yeah, there was like three
levels
tiers
of it, wasn't it?
Yeah, so if you did it for a little bit, you could get a level 1, which could kill anything pretty much.
Yeah, but maybe just in front of you or something like that. Yeah,
and then the more you waited and built up your score, you could get like your level 2 might be able to kill 2 things if it's positioned right, and 3. Some people's 3s were ridiculous, and you can end up wiping the whole board of all the enemies on all your enemies on there. But I always remember there was a bit weird, like some people's finishes was just ridiculous, and others were a bit like you could screw it up quite a lot. Like you could build up to a 3, press whatever it was to do it, and then everyone was just in the wrong position and no one died, and you were like, oh, that was a waste of
exactly. Yeah, a bit of extra balancing may be needed on some of these specials.
But so like the game just didn't really do that well, I guess.
No, I think it maybe sold like a million or 2 copies, which just wasn't enough for such a marquee title. And I think they essentially made a studio to create that game.
Yeah.
And then they pretty much closed it down, I think, quite soon after. Which is a shame because it had so much potential as PlayStation's Smash, basically, but they couldn't ever really get out of that shadow almost. And
yeah.
people compared it too much, and
I think the problem is as well, they pulled the trigger on that way too early. Like what we're going to do now is talk about if they were to do a PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale 2, what would the roster, what would the characters in that game actually look like now?
Yeah.
And I think I've made like a list of a load of characters, and I think some of them would be impossible based on other things that are going on.
Yeah.
But even without them, the actual cast of characters they could get now is pretty good.
Yeah.
And especially now, like if for example they'd made one and it was like a launch PS5 exclusive, that would be pretty sick.
Absolutely. I would be down for it straight away. It's a great party piece just to chuck out. There's a load of characters that everyone knows pretty well now. There's a long history of people that you could bring into it.
Yeah, for sure.
But yes, let's kick it off with your list then. What have you? Let's go through some of these people.
So what I did was I looked through the original roster of characters, and I was like, who is actually worthy of sort of staying in this? Because there's a load, like when we did the quiz, there's a load of characters in it that are a bit like, why on earth is this? Why is this person there? Why is this person? And I've basically tried to go with the ones that are like the iconic PlayStation characters. So the ones that I've got from the original one that I would keep. Firstly, Kratos.
Yeah.
So Kratos was in the first one, but this was before 2018 God of War.
Yeah.
So you could even have Kratos Kratos could even be like two characters.
You could have an alternative version as the 2018 version of him, or make that the main one and have.
But also if you like in the first game it had Cole McGrath from Infamous, and he was two characters. I was good Cole and evil Cole. Yeah. Which are like the choices in the game what you do. So you could even like do it like that. So you could bump the number of characters up a bit. And like one just has the Blades of Chaos, one has the Leviathan axe or whatever. And like obviously then he's got like the beard.
Yeah.
That's obviously you keep Kratos.
Definitely keep. He's so important.
He's
to
like
PlayStation.
Front and center on the box. Yeah. And you make it now. Right next to him, Nathan Drake.
Of course.
You've got to keep Drake in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's had Uncharted 4 since that's come out, or maybe
maybe even 3.
Maybe 3 as well.
I feel like All Stars was similar time. No, it must have been after 3.
It must be after because of the plane level.
Yeah,
there was a level set. One of the levels in the game was on a plane, and that was a scene from 3. So.
Yeah, one of the set pieces in it.
I remember he's one I wanted to play with all the time, but his finishing moves were terrible.
Yeah, didn't he bring like the Tomb of Shambhala or something? Would like pop up and
just fell over onto someone and would kill them.
Yeah,
kind of rubbish.
Yeah,
one of them was a bomb that you just couldn't really control where it went. I think
he just kind of lobbed it forward.
Yeah, but you've got to have him in it.
He's got to be there.
Maybe he's got like his rope swing now.
Yes, the grappling hook type thing.
You can put like and call in maybe like Sam or
Sully. Yeah, I like it. He's got to be in there again. Another iconic modern PlayStation character.
So they were both in it. There's three more that I think you just got to keep. Ratchet and Clank.
Oh, for sure.
Just about to have a new game out as well. Just imagine, you imagine that franchise is going to keep going with Insomniac being like massive.
Yeah.
I don't know what you change about them really, because although I suppose this was before their most recent game, wasn't
it? They're kind
of. I just dropped my water bottle on the floor. Sorry.
They were. It was like the reimagining of the first game. So it's still pretty similar, but there's so many in Ratchet. One of the great things about Ratchet is there's so many like weird and wacky weapons in that game that you could easily bring in any of those as like a finisher. I can't remember what it's actually called, but there's one weapon where it just like shoots out like a disco ball and then everyone just starts dancing. So you could have that where you do that and then everyone's kind of control is taken away from them or something along those lines. Got to have Ratchet and Clank, especially with the new game coming out. Definitely. Oh, this is it. You bring in some like the rift tearing so you can appear on one side of the map to the other or something like that.
Yeah, that would be cool. You've got to keep them in it. Jack and Daxter as well. I don't really know about. I never really played Jack and Daxter, but
same.
They're kind of like PlayStation.
Exactly. Yeah.
you just got to have them in it, I think.
Yeah.
And then the other one that was in the original one is Sackboy.
Yes.
He was one that I was like, oh, maybe, because I think I made this list before the PlayStation event, the big one that happened with the PS5 reveal, before we got the Sackboy's Big Adventure reveal as well. And I was like, oh, do you keep Sackboy? Is Sackboy
relevant
dead?
anymore?
Like, is he actually? And then they've just announced a new game for him. So I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah,
he definitely stays.
Definitely.
So those were 5 that were in the original game. There was loads of other people in it. Like, for example, I don't know why I've not included like Cole McGrath. Oh, I know why I've not included him. I'll come to that later.
Okay.
But you could probably keep him in and maybe just have skins for the evil or good. People that I've put this next 5. I'm like, two of them definitely couldn't happen for sure because they're in Super Smash Bros.
I see.
But I look at if you look at PlayStation history, I'm like, Solid Snake.
Oh,
he should be in a PlayStation one.
Yeah.
And it was weird because there was a Metal Gear. Oh yeah,
Raiden
from Revengeance
was in the first game.
And there was a whole level about from Metal Gear, or it wasn't, and then it became
exactly. I think the Metal Gear comes along and starts shooting up the place.
Yeah, Solid Snake just should be.
He should be in it
with PS1 graphics as well, and he's like,
yeah. I'd love that. I love the idea of with it, you could have if you have a single character, because I think quite a few of these would work with what we've said. Is you have a single character, but you have an alternative version of them. So it's the one character you pick, but you pick MGS1 Snake, or you pick MGS4 old Snake, but it's the same character, but they have slightly different moveset. So you pick Ratchet or Clank, and you play as either of them, or you have old Kratos, young Kratos. Kind of loads of those characters could be so easy to have a dual personality to them, and that would change your fighting style. And
if you try to pick MGS2 Snake, you just play as Raiden.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It loads you in as Snake and then immediately swaps you out as Raiden.
The second one, same thing, was an exclusive. Now obviously it isn't. Cloud Strife, in Smash Bros as well, with the remake.
Especially with remake, it makes so much sense to have him in this game.
Yeah, especially when you look at the biggest, the big PS1 exclusives, two of the best ones, like Final Fantasy 7, Metal Gear Solid 1. You want them in there, but and this I've actually not included on this list, but Crash Bandicoot.
Again,
he's not in my list at all, but same.
He would make so much sense to be in
obviously, not exclusive anymore. So
yeah, absolutely. Kind of he was one of the big ones that I remember when the original game came out. Everyone was like, Crash isn't in it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's whatever, but that's so ridiculous. But obviously it's because Activision now own the IP, so it would be great to have him in it because he does have a great PlayStation history and kind of heritage to it. So he'd be a fun one.
I put Okami in.
Okami, nice.
So that'd be cool. Yeah, the wolf from Okami. That'd be pretty cool.
You could definitely have some beautiful stages set.
Oh yeah,
in that water painting.
I played a bit of. I never finished it, but I've definitely played a few hours of it. It's quite good fun.
Really cool.
I think they did a remaster, didn't they?
Yes, yeah, they did.
And then the other two, which I feel like we could be in it.
Yeah.
I don't think this is too far of a shout. I've gone for Eco.
Yeah.
And Wanda.
Yeah.
As well from Shadow of the Colossus. I thought those two. Feel like you could get them.
Absolutely. That again would be another. Well, that's an exclusive IP anyway. So
yeah.
So they that again could be its dual character. You play as Wanda or Eco.
Or I don't even know what the thing is from Last Guardian, but the boy from that, I don't know.
Oh, Trico is the
dog
thing.
I don't know what the character's called though.
I don't know his name either.
But yes, that's 10, maybe 11 if you include Crash. As well, but they're the ones. So 5 of them obviously were in the last game. Maybe put Cole McGrath back in as well. And then what I did was I thought, right, let's just go from PlayStation exclusives since that's come out. Sure. And I've gone with 10 characters.
Okay.
And I think, apart from the first one, these are pretty strong.
Okay, because I was gonna say sometimes it's fun having an oddball that just doesn't make any sense whatsoever in it.
Well, this totally makes sense, but Knack.
Oh, 100%. Knack
straight
has to be in it.
Knack's got to be there.
Even just for everyone will like that.
Yeah, everyone would love. And I think as well, how his character would work in terms of him getting bigger as he builds up his specials and stuff. I think that would be. It's probably the best that Knack would ever be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Never really played it, I've got to be honest. So yeah, like I feel like Knack would be one that is like, oh, you just include that because why not?
Yeah.
Similar sort of vein, maybe a bit though. Astrobot.
Astrobot, yeah, I like it.
Because then he can like call in like the big thing that
Yeah,
you, like,
the giant
in the
bot
game
thing.
He's
got all the abilities, like he's got the little grappling hook thing that he shoots out.
Yeah. There's like the water cannon.
The water cannon as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like throwing like that would be a special. You would do like the shuriken things that you like flip.
Oh, the shuriken
on the touchpad.
Yes, you just run around going pew pew pew.
So we're literally making this game.
And he's got his little mini Astrobots running around with him.
Because you can imagine you'd have like a whole match that would be just like Astrobot versus Sackboy versus Knack
versus like Crash or something.
Yeah, like, and it'd be like the cutest fight ever. Then I just thought like, all of these are just from exclusives. I've kind of cheated on one of them, but Deacon St. John is the dude from
Days Gone.
Days Gone.
Yeah,
I didn't play Days Gone, but I don't know what he'd do. I guess he just like ride his motorbike into people.
Yeah, his special would be he'd ride the motorbike as doing a wheelie across the whole screen.
Yeah,
and it would just wipe out anyone in the way. That would be his level.
Or he could like call a horde of zombies.
Yes, he would definitely call in zombies to help.
Yeah,
he would be like he's the same style as Drake, but they're just slightly different in what they can do.
Yeah. Then okay, so I thought I didn't put Cole McGrath in that, but I thought Delson Rowe, infamous Second Son.
Yeah.
I thought pretty cool. He's got like so many different attacks, abilities. It'd be colourful.
And his alternative version is Fetch.
Oh yeah.
There you go. There's your alternative.
First light?
First light.
First light.
Infamous first light. Last light.
Last light.
Last light.
It's last light, isn't it? Yeah. I can't remember. Kind of cheated because I said I've gone with obviously I said Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But then I also said Miles Morales. I've
the got alternative.
There
you go.
Them as two different, but I guess they could if we're doing alternatives.
Yeah,
they could be.
I love the alternative thing.
But I thought he's getting his own game.
Yeah,
why not?
He would have to be. You could when you're jumping with him, you can use the web to swing across the screen quickly.
Yeah.
You can web people towards you.
And Miles would have like the electricity powers and like being able to go invisible and stuff. And, yeah, like
that. The possibilities are endless.
Writes itself. Literally writes itself. This stuff.
Yeah.
Next one I put on there was I just wrote the Ghost because that's before I played Ghost of Tsushima. It's Jin Sakai.
Yeah.
If you've played Ghost of Tsushima, like all of his different stances, all of the like Ghost stance would be his special for sure. Because you basically just can one shot everyone, so that would literally be it. And the screen would go like black and white and red.
Oh, that would be so cool! But like the styles that you could put into that.
Yeah, that would be unbelievable. Obviously. Then I've got 3 more. So I said Aloy. Obviously,
she'd be a bow, long range person.
Long range, but then she'd also have like her kind of staff thing.
Yeah.
Or like, and then she'd like maybe like ride in on one of those things or for a special.
Yeah, you'd ride. One of the specials would be riding across on like the big horse thing.
She'd have a rope caster that could like
pin people
for a second. Maybe that would be like her level 1. You'll like pin someone, and if you manage to hit them, they died or something.
Yeah, I like it.
Oh yeah, no, she would be sick.
Yeah.
Then I said Sam Porter Bridges. I know it's
the man who delivers.
It's gone to PC now, so I don't know what the deal with that would be. I'm sure they'd be able to.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure they'd be able to
no, I think Kojima Productions own it. But anyway, yeah, they're still totally in bed.
I feel like Kojima would let them.
Oh, 100%. 100%. The man who delivers.
I don't know what his specials would be.
A void out.
Yeah.
He'd do a void out. Anyone caught in it. Like, he'd use BTs and stuff. Like he'd lay down the tile on the floor so that people can't move very quickly.
Well, I was thinking, could his level 1 be it just starts raining and he puts his hood up and everyone else gets really slow?
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool.
Oh, Sam Porter Bridges. BP.
And then the last one on my list, maybe controversially, Ellie. Wow. I haven't put Joel in. I mean, he could be maybe the alternate. I was thinking a better alternate would be Abby.
Abby's the alternative. I think.
My problem is though, I look at all these characters, and there's a lot of people that kill a lot of people, like Ghost Tsushima. There's a lot of death going on. I've not played Days Gone, but Deacon St. John, I'm assuming, kills a lot of things, at least in that.
Yeah.
Ellie's so like violent compared to all these people. Like, I can't.
Yeah.
I almost don't want her in this game because I'm thinking, man, I don't want her to get her hands on Spider-Man or or on like Sackboy. Or...
She would have to be slightly cartoonized, kind of like, if that's a real word, to bring it into the world of All-Stars Battle Royale.
In the first game, in like the arcade mode, when there was always like a little interaction between, like, for example, if you were Kratos and you fought against like Nathan Drake, there was always like they'd say a sentence to each other or something, and then you fought them.
Yeah,
I'm just imagining like even Kratos just looking at Ellie and being like, "Oh shit, I don't want anything. I don't want to get involved in that.
I'm gonna kill every last one of you." She would be good. Again, she could be another, like, you could bring in the bow into it.
Oh yeah,
weapon, like normal weapons. She could definitely set down
like traps, like sticky mines and stuff.
Sticky mines, and as your alternative as Abby, she would throw pipe bombs.
Yeah.
And then the ultimate. What would their ultimate be?
I mean, I feel like she would just like.
She's just running around knifing
people.
Just
like knifing people in the neck. Horrible.
Yeah.
That was my list. I didn't have I missed anything? Can you think of anything that I've missed in there?
I don't think so. You covered most of the big boys there.
Because again, like Persona is a big series, but it's in Smash Bros.
Oh, of course, it's another Joker's in Smash, isn't he? Yeah. Because you could have like a weird one being the imp from Dreams.
Oh yeah.
What you would do with that would be like, you could like, imagine if you could make some stupid like algorithm which like rando brings in assets from Dreams as an ability to like drop them down on people or something. So and it could shift.
What if you could make your character in Dreams?
Oh my goodness!
And then it comes in.
This is the linking between the studios.
Oh, why doesn't someone just make this in Dreams?
I'm sure someone probably is.
Yeah.
So in Dreams, you can create your own character and import it into PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale.
Yeah, 2. that would work, an absolute dream. But I'm just thinking of like the box art for this game. You've got like Ellie, Spider-Man, Kratos, Aloy, like Astrobots in the corner, Ghost Tsushima. Like, it'd be crazy.
It would be mad seeing all of those people on the same bot.
Especially when you compare it to like the old one where it was like, Nathan Drake's here, like a Ratchet and Clank.
The thing which was quite nice about the old one is that they did do a lot of like old school characters, like Parappa the Rapper, Fat Princess,
yeah.
Sawtooth, like quite a few.
And
like,
you probably keep a lot of them. Like,
yeah. But you can definitely. There's so many characters from this last generation that you can bring in as well. Because I think in the original game there was Big Daddies, weren't there?
Yeah, there was a Big Daddy.
I
think there was a Bioshock level, wasn't there? Even
in a Rapture level.
Yeah,
definitely. That would be. I would be so excited for the idea of that coming out.
Yeah,
because you could be so inventive with some of the worlds and the levels. You can do those kind of you can mix 2 levels together or something. So you have a level which is from The Last of Us, which is mixed with something from Spider-Man or something like that, and they influence each other in different ways. We should do this.
I feel like I just thought of another one. Maybe I don't know how this. I'm assuming this would work. You could just have like the generic box art looking guy from Bloodborne.
The hunter.
Yeah.
Oh, the hunter would be great because he's got loads of different weapons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I like it. I
mean, Sony, feel free to like take this idea, but pay us.
Yeah. Do pay us.
Yeah, please pay us.
10% of all profits.
Yeah. And
if that closes the studio, then we'll make a podcast in a couple of years about part 3, and then we'll revive it.
Also, Vita 2 needs to happen.
And this game has to exclusively launch only on it for a year.
Timed exclusive on it.
Excellent stuff. Well, that is our pitch. I think we've made a compelling case.
Yeah, absolutely.
For what will be a smash hit. Smash hit.
Oh no!
Oh dear.
The comparisons are already there. It's not even been made.
But let's move on from that. Let's move straight into the second half of this episode, which is The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah.
This is heavy, deep. There's going to be a lot of spoilers. So
yeah.
I think just at the top, we'll say what do you think about the game without being any spoilers, and then we'll move into just a full-on discussion. So if you've played it, then you can kind of listen along and see if you agree or disagree.
Do we want to do bets now, just so that in case people don't want to be spoiled for?
Spoiled yes, very good point. Actually, yeah. Let's preload the end of the episode. So quickly we'll go through our bets, which we'll start with actually from last week's bet. Which was looking at the second, going on OpenCritic, looking at the second review down on the left, and searching for how many times for Ghost of Tsushima, searching for how many times the word samurai pops up.
That's right.
And I believe you said 4?
Yeah, I said 4, and you went one above me.
5.
You said 5.
Yeah.
So
the high ground.
The second review was from IGN.com, small gaming website. And do you want to know how many it was?
I do. I'm pretty confident.
Yeah, it was 12.
Wow.
12 times. So pretty much just every other word in the review is just, it really makes you feel like a samurai.
Yeah.
It really makes you feel like... so pretty... I'm getting a bit frustrating. I feel like you've won like 5 in a row or something, maybe even more than that.
Yeah. It's a commanding lead.
So the score now is actually Hufflepuff have 30 points.
Yeah.
And Gryffindor are on 80.
Wow.
So a 50 point lead.
Someone could say that's an absolute mauling so far.
So far. But don't forget, we are a mere 5 months from the end of the Golden Snitch.
From the Golden Snitch.
I'm worried now that you might be like too far away by the time we get to 5.
Is it 100 points, is it?
150.
Oh, okay. Ooh, that would be tricky.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe not. Yeah. So you're 50 points ahead of me. So I'm next bet. I'm winning this next one, so I can start catching up.
Absolutely. And the next bet is going to be based on now that the Ghost of Tsushima is out. We are going to, when we next record, we are going to go onto Twitch.tv, search for Ghost of Tsushima, and see how many people are watching.
Is it Twitch.tv? I'd have thought.
I think it's Twitch.tv is the website.
I'd have gone with .com, but I guess I'm
wrong. So, Chris, kick us off with how many viewers you think there will be.
I want you to go first.
All right. I'll go first. I am going to predict that when we look on Twitch, there will be 6,723 people watching.
6,723. Okay. I just can't remember if that's a lot or if that's not a lot. So I've just got no real. I think I'm gonna go above you though.
Okay,
I'm gonna
I see what you're doing.
Because as we record, it's been out for like maybe a week or about a week. Yeah,
about a week. Yeah,
about a week. I'm just gonna go with like 6,969.
Wow.
Nice.
Super nice.
I don't know how the maths will work out on that.
But it'll be fine.
I really need the win, man.
Yeah,
I'm actually getting a bit upset.
I think this could be the time. This could be the one that you bring it back. Okay, well, those are locked in. They're written down. They've made note of them.
I have written it. I've just written it down.
Good stuff.
I wrote yours down wrong at first, but I've done it correctly now.
Dirty cheater. So now, let's talk about The Last of Us.
Yes.
Part 2. So first off the bat, let's just give some quick impressions, just maybe a couple of sentences just on without spoiling anything, and then we will do our kind of spoilers.
Do you want my impression first?
Yeah, go for it.
You think I'd let you do this on your own? That was my impression of Joel from the trailer. Because you remember when the trailer came out?
Yeah.
And it was Joel?
No spoilers.
Oh! Yeah, spoilers. From now on, spoilers for Last of Us Part 2. Well, I guess we could do our general impressions without
Yeah.
that was the
point.
non-spoiler impressions. Really enjoyed it. absolutely brutal game. Like I've said for the last couple of episodes, it took me almost a whole month to finish this game because it is honest. It's genuinely the most violent thing I've ever played. And that's not to say that maybe you kill the most amount of people, because I've probably killed way more people playing 20 odd hours of Ghost of Tsushima already. But just the animations and the feel of the game is so grim and so dark the whole time, and the like I said, the animations of actually killing people is so horrible. And and I think the reason I feel that way is because that was the kind of the intention. The whole meaning I took from the game was all about the consequences of this sort of violence and this sort of world that they live in, and the decisions that the characters are making. I had I hesitate to say I had fun with it because it was so grueling, but there were points where you're just sort of put into a playground and said, here you go, deal with these infected, deal with these human enemies from these different factions in whatever way you want. And I really enjoyed those parts, and getting to the end of them really felt like I'd achieved something, even though I was playing on, as easy or whatever. And I was just sort of getting through everything. And I like the general moment to moment parts of the game where you're just going through and collecting stuff and crafting. I've always liked the crafting in Last of Us. I've always enjoyed that. And the story is what most people are kind of up in arms about with it. I think it was good. I think it was like honest storytelling for that world. So I think, and I'm not saying that it's hard to say do I like the story?
Yeah.
I don't know if I can say. I don't know if I can hand on my heart and say, yeah, I really enjoyed that story.
Yeah.
But it felt true. It felt honest to what the world was to me.
Yeah.
So I appreciated it through that. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
In any way that I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I think for myself, I am fairly similar in my thought process with you. I didn't enjoy it, I think, quite as much. I had a bit of a hard time with various aspects to it. I do, however, think it's incredibly bold and challenging and special in a way, because of what it tries to do, whether that's through gameplay or through the narrative and the storytelling and the kind of devices they use in that. I think it's very impressive. It's an absolute marvel to look at, to listen to, and to see in action.
Oh, the audio, the sound design of this game is unreal.
And I think I had a few issues with the characters, and some of their actions and their motivations and how they went about doing things, which ultimately, because the game is so much about living with those people and being part of their lives and their stories, that detracted from my enjoyment a bit of it. I do, however, think it's no less than a good game. I just don't know how big of an impact it's having on me down the line.
Yeah.
Kind of type thing.
So
with that said,
leave now if you don't want to be spoiled.
Yeah, if you have not played the game, or you do, or intending to play the game, you do leave now before we spoil everything.
Okay, right.
First off the bat, I just want to say,
yeah, go on.
One thing is, I don't, during this conversation, I don't really want to talk about the leaks, discourse, and everything around the game, because there has been this ridiculous maelstrom of opinions and attitudes that has gone across the industry, based around this game, and I think it detracts a lot from just actually talking about the game. And I kind of wanted to just acknowledge, massive parts of the game were leaked, massive people jumped to conclusions that weren't there, and people have acted in every corner terribly in every situation. Yeah. So that's that.
Right. So I ages ago, I should have looked up what episode this was on, but I didn't. We sat down and we talked about what we thought might happen in The Last of Us 2. And one of the things that I remember both of us agreeing on and saying was, Joel's a goner.
Yeah.
We both sat down and said, Joel is 100% dead. I don't think either of us thought that Joel would be dead within 2 hours of this game starting.
Yeah,
crazy.
That was quite a surprise.
What was your like reaction while you played through that?
Yeah,
part?
I remember whilst playing through it, and I was just kind of like, I felt so passionately angry about what I was watching happen. This is a character who I have come to love over the last 7 years, and really appreciated for how interesting he is as a character. And then he was absolutely destroyed in front of my eyes.
Oh.
And I don't know, I felt, and in the moment, I felt shock and anger. Straight after that, and for a couple of hours after it, I felt kind of, I don't know about this. Like, I feel like I'm wanting to pick holes in how did he get to this situation? Why is he in this situation? Why is it all happening and stuff? And
yeah.
I felt really frustrated about him and his death. But it certainly took me by surprise, no doubt at all.
Yeah, and it was because you knew you start playing as Abby,
yes,
who is this this other character that's not Ellie, it's not Joel. It was kind of the reviewers weren't allowed to talk about it when the reviews came out, but people knew from the leaks. I had Joel's death spoiled for me before going into the game, which I'm sure everyone probably knew. I mean, not that I was surprised by the fact that he was going to die. Just and I think one of the things that didn't come across in the leaks was when everything took place.
Yeah,
in the game. A lot of cut scenes were leaked and all this stuff. Ellie like kneeling at Joel's grave was leaked, and I think I remember actually having that image. I saw that image, and I thought this kind of looks like the end of the game.
I was thinking
this could be the end of the whole game, but it's actually within a couple of hours.
Yeah.
And just I personally think that whole section is specifically made to just just to completely rile you up.
Yeah.
Because you start playing as Abby, you get used to how she might fight, you get used to the new dodging mechanic, and then you're kind of overrun by infected. And you're trying to escape from them, and then someone shows up, saves the day, and takes you away from this infected, and there you go, it's Joel. Yeah. We see Joel for maybe first time in the game, I think. Maybe
second,
not actually. Second time in the game.
You ride with him.
You actually start as him, don't you? And so Joel comes in, saves Abby's life, and she takes him. She leads him back to her like group of friends who have travelled out with her, and from there, they find out that Tommy. Oh no, I think Joel reveals that he's Joel, doesn't he?
No, Tommy reveals who he is. He's like, oh, come to our place. We've got loads of people here. Here's my social security number. Oh, my name's Tommy, and this is my brother Joel.
You just think like if Joel had if Tommy had just gone, because I don't think Tommy says. I think he says this is my brother, and he goes, oh yeah, I'm Joel. I think it's Joel who says he's Joel.
Yeah, I think you're right. Actually,
but can you just imagine if Joel had just gone, yeah, I'm Andy.
Yeah,
like if he just lied and then they got them back to Jackson. Yeah, if they just lied. If Joel had just told a lie there.
Yeah.
Oh, but obviously he doesn't. Abby, he says I'm Joel, and all of her friends, like who you come to know later in the game, like Mel and everyone, sort of like look at each other.
Start getting nervous.
Abby takes a shotgun and just
blasts his leg
out.
Basically.
And then
I would have loved the moment if she does it, and he's just like, "What the hell are you doing?" She's like, "You're Joel Miller. You killed my dad." Spoilers, but we're past spoilers. And then he's like, "No, my name's Joel Engerton. You got the wrong Joel. My leg." He's just like, "Oh shit, wrong guy."
You obviously then take it back over as Ellie. You get into the place and you see, and then you get the cutscene and you see Joel die in front of you, horribly. Andrew Ryan death. Yeah, like. Golf club
to the face many times.
And this was something that I didn't really think about during the game. And as someone actually said this online somewhere after I'd got like halfway through the game, which just made me feel absolutely terrible. But I was like, so Ellie is sort of like held down to the ground and watches as Abby kills Joel.
Yeah.
And I don't think Joel ever actually really finds out why. Abby may have told him. She may have told him while she was attacking him. But I think he gets that she might be linked to the Fireflies, but I don't think he ever really finds out. And I still don't think Ellie really finds out that it was Abby's dad.
Joel definitely doesn't.
Yeah.
Because she just says Joel Miller, so she knows his name, and she says like, "Oh, you're going to pay for what you did," kind of.
And you don't get to rush this.
Yeah, it's slow. And Ellie as well. Yeah, I think because she comes in towards the halfway point.
Yeah.
And says that, oh, it's not Joel you want, it's not them you want, it's me.
Yeah.
I'm the girl who.
It's almost like she was trying to. We'll get to that bit in a minute, I think.
Yeah.
But like, it's almost like she was trying to diffuse it in a way. Which,
yeah.
But while this happens, the thing that someone said online was, Joel's last thoughts are probably Ellie's dead.
Absolutely.
The last thing that probably goes through his mind, apart from the golf club.
Yeah.
Where Ellie and Tommy are dead.
Yeah.
My surrogate daughter, my brother, they're going to be killed by these people.
Yeah. Because he's looking at, he's got his head over looking at her, and she's.
So I think someone maybe on Reddit or on Twitter said that, and I was just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. So dark.
So the game, they don't kill Ellie, they don't kill Tommy, they leave. Abby's friends are kind of, Owen specifically is there stopping others from killing Ellie.
Everyone else is ready for murder.
Yeah,
most of them are.
I think Mel is sort of a bit on the fence, isn't she?
She is, but she's on the fence, but she goes no loose ends. So it's like, no, we should kill them.
Yeah.
No loose
you're
ends.
right.
So
you're right.
She's up for death.
But Owen's very much like,
no, we've come here, we've done what we needed.
And I think he says something like, we'd be as bad as him, or if they did that. So they leave Ellie, they leave Tommy,
which is madness.
Yeah, very poor
decision on their behalf.
And then the whole rest of the game, you then have 3 days where you play as Ellie over 3 days of her hunting Abby and these people down.
Yeah.
Looking for revenge to kill Joel. She goes with Dina, who is her love interest, who you find out then is pregnant with Jesse's baby, and Jesse eventually comes up with you, which is the big controversial moment from the trailer where it's not Joel who goes on the journey with her, because obviously he's dead.
Yeah.
And they swapped it out for Jesse in the trailer, which people were very upset about. You get to that point, you get to the end of that, and then Abby and Ellie have a confrontation, but then you jump back in time.
Yeah.
So you've played probably about 12 hours or so as Ellie.
Yeah, I think I was actually at that point. I think I was about 15 hours, but it was because I was really enjoying the scavenging, looking around every single corner. When those kind of games where you have resource management, I like going to like hyperdrive of like, I've got to get every resource if I need to manage them. So then I was like 14, 15 hours, and then that finishes.
And then you kind of restart at day one of like the 3 days Ellie, you were as Ellie, but as Abby.
Yeah.
And then you go through those day 1, 2, 3, and it's about another 10 hours.
Yeah.
Maybe over if you do play it a bit slower, but you play as Abby. And then in terms of like gameplay differences, there's different weapons. She obviously isn't immune to the clickers and the infected, so she can't get hit. If you get hit once by a clicker, you're dead.
Yeah.
So it's back to how you played as Joel in The Last of Us 1.
Have to craft shivs compared to Ellie has a flick knife, a butterfly knife.
And you play through the 3 days very much not aware that Ellie is coming after you.
No.
Until everything hits the fan and you realise that all your friends are dead. Like
it's very much once you see Melon.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Owen,
isn't it? Because up until then, you've never actually seen any of the other friends die, because you meet Nora in the hospital, but then you leave before Nora's been killed.
Yep. Literally just, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so through, and then obviously they have a conversation, you have a boss fight played as Abby, fighting against Ellie.
Yeah.
And it's kind of similar to Ellie's boss fight from Last of Us 1, where you fight against David.
Yes.
And you have to sneak up on her. She'll
throw a brick at her. The second time you do it, she'll dodge it.
And Ellie will use some of her equipment, like putting mines on the floor.
Yeah.
And again, man, it's like I wouldn't say I enjoyed like the David fight from 1 because it's so tense. And this one, it is tense, but equally I'm like, oh man, Ellie, and we'll probably talk about this in a bit, Ellie's not great in this game in terms of decisions,
not at all.
but I don't want to kill her.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it's almost like an ending point of the game. There is a lot after it still, probably another 4 or 5 hours, but eventually Abby doesn't kill Ellie or Dina and they go back. So during these sections, you have flashbacks.
Yeah, during each of the days.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's always at the end. Sometimes I think it does happen mid, but
yeah.
okay.
I can't remember exactly, but there's probably like 3 or 4 for both.
Yeah. It's kind of at the end of each day, you have a flashback type scene.
And Ellie's flashbacks are where you get the majority of what you see of Joel.
Yes.
Through this game. The reason I want, because obviously Abby, like we may have pointed out, the whole reason she kills Joel is because Joel killed her dad.
Yeah, he is the doctor at the end of the first game, which Joel takes a scalpel to the neck.
Yeah.
And brutally kills.
And we get, I think maybe like this is weird, like my least favorite part of the game. Not from like, oh, I hated doing this, but just I thought, this wasn't as good. Was Abby's, the first bit you play as Abby from day one, not the very beginning of the game, is you get an introduction to her dad.
Yeah.
And obviously, like for me personally, I know a lot of people hate Abby and like just could not get on board with her. And I honestly totally understand that because of what she did to the character we played as. But I sort of went into this with a very open, feeling very open to saying, actually, I want to see her side.
Yeah.
But what they did is in her first flashback was have her on a hunting trip with her dad when she was quite a bit younger. And the game just kind of, like, the dad was just like, the second coming of Christ or something.
Oh, my Lord.
He's just like the nicest person.
He's utter perfection as a person.
Abby and her dad just have this perfect relationship. Yeah. They banter back and forth. And then, they turn a corner.
He's like a perfect dad, even more perfect dad, Joel, kind of in the way he like banters with his kid, kind of.
But then they turn a corner and the dad finds this zebra, who has been caught in some barbed wire, and he just will not, like, he needs to go back because he needs to be on patrol for the Fireflies or something, and he's like, no, we have to.
I think they say they've got the girl at the hospital. They say they've got Ellie.
Oh, right. Is that right?
They're saying that Ellie's arrived, but they've got Ellie there. Like the girl kind of. And he's just like, now, hold up a minute. Let's cut the zebra for you, please.
Yeah, so you go and, I think you actually cut it, don't you? But him and Owen are there holding the barbed wire back. And
it takes an awkwardly long time for her to finally cut it. Yeah. And I'm like, hurry up, look at this bleeding zebra.
But I saw that bit and I think it's supposed to do this, but I just thought it was a bit like, oh, of course. I think it's supposed to take your mind back to 1 where Ellie and Joel have that moment with the giraffe.
Yeah, I think university. No doubt.
And I just think that for me was a bit heavy-handed in going, look, it's her dad and he's really nice. All I needed to know really was that Joel killed her dad.
Yeah.
I didn't need to see how an amazing a person he was. Having said that, I think the rest of the times we see him, I personally thought were great because you get that conversation with him and Marlene about him saying, we have to kill her. We have to kill Ellie in order to get the cure for mankind. This is bigger than one girl. This is bigger than us.
Yeah.
And Marlene, you then see her
pushing back
and just understanding that it's a very uncomfortable thing. But he's obviously, and I think later on in one of Ellie's flashbacks, you actually get the information that Abby's dad's the only person, or the only person they know of, that could make this cure. That has the knowledge to be able to do it. And I think that's pretty much what you see of him. You see him a bit in like dreams that Abby has when she keeps walking into the room where she finds him dead. But like I said, I liked seeing him as the scientist there and that difficult decision, but him putting that point across that it's the right thing to do. But I just didn't need to see the chummy with Abby. I could totally just understand, yes, he's her dad.
Yeah.
Even if they didn't have a good relationship, she'd still probably feel very upset with what Joel did.
Exactly. I think I think it's fairly fair to say that like there's quite a few things in the Abby half of the game which are designed to make you empathize and enjoy her as a character because they knew people are going to really whiplash against playing as this person. So they have to kind of drip things out to encourage you to feel her side of the story or enjoy playing as her and stuff like that.
And like in terms of like story ways they do that, like her love interest, which is Owen, I grew to really like this character actually, and you only do that after you've shot him as Ellie.
Yeah.
And they have a bit where they're on like a date together at the Ferris wheel by the aquarium. They and so you see, he's with this other girl, Mel, who's got pregnant, but you could tell that he still has feelings for Abby, and so you're kind of then going like, oh, I'm kind of on Abby's side here because I want them to be together. Yeah. There is a very kind of awkward sex scene between them, which
it's very awkward, and I just don't think is done.
No,
it's done so poorly in my opinion.
I could have just had the implication of. I didn't need to see it. I don't think.
Yeah. Just the way it all happens, I was like, it really doesn't.
It was uncomfortable.
Yeah. And that's not the intention.
No,
at all.
No, it's not the intention to be uncomfortable. But you kind of like, in a way, it almost puts me a little bit more rooting for Abby and Owen because Mel, you don't really warm to.
No, not at all.
Even though she's pregnant.
Yeah.
And then. In terms of gameplay, like you said, you get this unbelievable hunting pistol.
Yeah, you get all the best weapons with her.
You get these sticky,
pipe bombs.
Pipe bombs. That's it. That
you kind of bounce around.
You get a ridiculous. You get a shot, the double shotgun. That you can put flaming. There are flaming rounds in that you use. Yeah, the crossbow's cool. So you probably get like it's pretty stacked in terms of like the gameplay with her, and then also her biggest storyline before you come back to fighting Ellie is saving these two young people from the sort of religious fanatic group, the Seraphites. Yeah. And she's got no real reason to do it.
Yeah. She I think at one point even Lev says to her, Lev and Yara, the two people, and Lev even says to her something like, why are you doing this? She's like, guilt. Yeah. I felt like I had to.
Yeah. And I think people may have thought that was maybe a bit too much. I personally really liked that because I saw her as this like, you first time you see her, she is this horrendous person doing these horrible things to Joel who's someone you already love, and then you're seeing that actually through day 1 and day 2 when she eventually meets Lev and Yara, that her friends have turned against her a bit because they saw what she did. She is not happy. She's having nightmares about when her dad died still. It's not brought her peace. Yeah. And so she basically kind of runs away to find Owen, but then also gets caught up in helping these helpless people that belong to this faction that they've been at war against. Yeah. So you do see quite a bit of a change in her through the game.
Absolutely.
Ellie's flashbacks, on the other hand, and the section Ellie have... I thought were incredible, and
some of the best stuff in Last of Us as a dual game.
Yeah, if you've obviously spoilers throughout, but I think the best section for me from probably either game was where you get a flashback and Joel is taking Ellie to a natural history museum for her birthday. Yeah, and you go around and you're seeing all of this information about the dinosaur, the bones that are there. Joel starts pitching in with information which is just stuff that he's learned from Jurassic Park.
Yes, exactly.
And it's all wrong. And he gets to like he's like desperate to find the Velociraptor. Yeah. And you find it, and he goes like, and he starts reading. He goes, feathers. What's this about? Like that.
They must have it all wrong.
And you can pick up a hat from the gift shop and start putting the hat on the heads of all of the dinosaurs, and then eventually you can put and Joel's like not having any of it. He's like, but obviously finds it cute. Yeah. I think one of my obviously that it then goes into this another bit that we'll talk about in just literally a second. But there's a part where you put the hat on and you can go into the toilet and pull silly faces as Ellie in the mirror, which is so funny and cute. But then just in the back you can see Joel leant against the wall looking and like smiling at her,
smiling at you,
and it's literally like making me tear up just talking about it now. But then he takes her through and it's like there's a space exhibit, and
which
Ellie
she's been obsessed with since the first game.
Yeah. And there's a replica like moon landing,
like a shuttle thing,
which they get in, and Joel has found a old cassette tape of like the Apollo mission. Yeah. Which she puts into her Walkman, and has this moment she puts on like a helmet, and then she's like hears all the sound, and imagine she's taken off to somewhere else that's not this horrible wasteland that she lives in.
She's living out the dreams of what she wish she could be or what wish she could do. Yeah,
and it's just it's such an amazing. Like it actually happens at the end of some really grueling moments.
It's the end of the first day as Ellie, and that is like a long slog of continuous like attacking and fighting and hiding and running, and
it is like take on these WLF people, oh, now you're here. There's infected here. Fight this. Oh, here's this new type of infected called shamblers who just chuck poisonous stuff at you and blow up when they die. Oh, now
have both together.
Now here's infected and WLF.
Yeah.
Now here's one last thing with WLF. Now you finish. Now we're going to emotionally
destroy
punch you by showing you Joel again being a lovely dad to Ellie,
being the best guy.
Yeah, and I actually we talked about it in the last podcast because I had like 2 hours sleep that night.
And
I had to stop after that flashback because I was just in like floods of tears.
It's so good.
And as you go on, then you get the very important flashback, which is Ellie goes back to the hospital.
Yeah,
and she finds out what Joel did, and she says to him, "You be honest with me right now, or I will not go back to Jackson with you. You will never see me again."
Yeah.
And he says, and he comes clean.
Admits the truth.
Then
she's essentially like, "Okay, if that's the truth, then we're done."
Yeah.
She says, "We're done. We can't be."
And it's kind of implied that she goes back because he told the truth. She goes back to Jackson with him, but their relationship as to what you saw like from that flashback with the Natural History Museum and from one is just kind of gone.
Yeah.
And it just leaves you feelings. And I think is that the end of day 2 or into day 3?
I think that's 2.
Potentially.
I think that's the end of day 2.
And so he's dead, and you're just like, oh my god, I hope this wasn't like the last time they
spoke. That was my thought process for a long time was that, but they do actually have a couple of conversations.
Yeah, and I think that's the last conversation I had was very good. I thought, which happens right at the end of the game, pretty much.
Yeah.
There's a couple of other flashbacks with them as well.
There's the hunting one with Tommy.
Tommy's there. And so, like we said, Abby, Ellie have this confrontation. Abby spares Ellie and Dina.
Yeah. At the request of Lev, she's not gonna spare them.
No, she wasn't.
And Lev's like, Abby. Then she has a voice of reason, kind of talks her out of it, basically.
And Ellie and Dina and that's kind of, you get a fair. I'm not sure what the time jump is. It must be at least a year or so.
Yeah, I think
Dina has the baby.
Dina has the baby, so it's probably a year or 2.
Yeah,
I think maybe 2 years.
Maybe
later.
2.
Yeah.
And the baby. I don't know if did you do the thing where you carve the. So you on the
JJ into the
So Neil Druckmann said that neither J stands for Joel. By the way, so I think it's implied that it might be like Jesse Jr.
Yeah, sure.
Is the name, which is
cool.
Then everything is so nice. You're herding sheep. You've got this lovely picturesque farm that you live on with Dina. You're dancing with Dina while she does washing up. And, Ellie's got very touchy feely. She's
got very very close.
And then Tommy, who isn't dead, you think might be dead, but he survived Abby's attack, and he tells Ellie that he's heard of a group in California that have maybe captured Abby, or that's where she is. And Ellie, you think she might not be up for it because she sort of says to him, I've given up on that. Dina's like, no, it's not happening.
Yeah. And
then Ellie decides to go, and Dina sort of says to her, if you do this
is it.
We won't be here when you get back. And you play again for like a very short time as Abby and Lev while they get captured by these people called the
Rattlers.
Yeah, who are basically just. I mean, they're a pretty bad bit in the game, to be honest. They're
like biker gang group gone mad,
but like with some pretty serious like weaponry as well.
Yeah.
And they basically take people as slaves.
Yeah,
that's their thing.
Absolutely. They're slavers. Yeah.
And then you play as Ellie, who is tracking Abby, and you eventually get captured by these people as well, but you manage to escape, and they tell you that someone called Abby is at this slave base
compound,
and you go through, and then there's a pretty good stealth fighting section with these Rattler people, because you get an M16 and like
it's ridiculous,
a suppressed M16 as well, which would have been pretty good in parts of the other rest of the game.
Absolutely.
And then you find Abby, you find Lev, you cut them down from these almost like crucifixion things.
Yeah, I think it's called the Pillars.
Oh, the Pillars, that's it.
Yeah.
And Abby is kind of like, what the hell, and like takes Lev down and puts Lev in a boat, and then Ellie's like, I can't let you go. You have this like fist fight. It turns into like a knife fight at the end with Abby.
Yeah.
And Ellie gets the best of her and is like drowning her, and then you get this flashback, the last flashback in the game, I think.
No. When she's drowning her, it's just flashes to Joel sitting on the porch with a guitar, looking up.
Oh, sorry, yeah, of course.
And then she kind of sees Joel, and she's like, I need to stop what I'm doing. So she pulls Abby up, and they both go their separate ways. And Ellie just kind of sits there wallowing in the water because she also had 2 of her fingers bitten off by Abby at that point
in the fight.
So then she goes back to the ranch, to the farm.
Yeah.
Goes through the house. There's nothing in there. She goes upstairs to her room, which had her like paintings and stuff like that, and she picks up the guitar, sits down, attempts to play it for a bit, but because she's only got 3 fingers on her left hand, she can't really play very well. And then you have the flashback to Joel and her standing on the front of their porch, where they lived in Jackson, and she is effectively
you actually get the
dance scene as well.
Scene.
You get the dance scene as well.
One of the first trailers we saw.
And the aftermath of that little bit, and then Joel is kind of like, he's wanting to make amends with her, but she's like, I just don't think we can get past this.
Because he stands up for her. There's a sort of homophobic guy at the dance, and Joel steps in, and Ellie's really upset with him that he stepped in. And she comes to him and says, "Don't do this. I don't need you to do this for me anymore."
Yeah.
And he try because you get the impression they just don't really talk.
Yeah.
And
she says her most important bit in this whole game, which is that she wanted her life to mean something, to be something, and he took away the chance for that to be the case. I found
this conversation was so powerful, and she says, literally like you said, that this was her chance to mean her life to mean something, and he took it away. And he sort of puts his guitar down, stands up, and says, "If God gave me the chance to gave me another chance at it, I'll do the same thing again."
Yeah,
and I was like, "Oh my God."
To which, then she's kind of taken back a bit for a bit, and then she comes in with the line being like, "Look, I don't know if we can ever get past this. However, I would like to try to.
Yeah,
and I would like to try and build something back up." And he's like, "I'd very much like that kind of type thing." He's like, "Yeah, that would be really nice." And it ends on them kind of half smiling at each other and like acknowledging that this is terrible, but they both do have a connection. They'd like to build it toward something.
And then Ellie just goes off into the distance.
Yeah.
Where does she go? What does she do?
Who knows? Wait for The Last of Us Part 3. Ellie's Revenge.
Oh, well, 2. I think this was Ellie's Revenge, really. Yeah. Kind of, maybe not. Well, that's the game. I mean, in terms of like what you do in the game, it is very similar to 1 in terms of fighting infected and people. And then
it's an evolution on The Last of Us, not like a revolution in time changing how it is. It's The Last of Us. You expect something from it. Yeah. And you get that in a better fashion for all gameplay related stuff. Yeah. Everything relating to gameplay is just better.
It spiced things up with the inclusion of the dogs who can sniff you out if you're in stealth. The enemies have different, you'll have a whole group of enemies that basically just use bows and machetes and things, the Seraphites. You eventually get to the end where enemies have some helmets on, so you can't just really easily pick off the headshots. Obviously, we said there's actually, well, I guess technically there's 3 new types of infected.
Yeah, you're right.
We should probably talk about this moment.
Yeah.
But we said about the Shamblers.
Yeah, which are kind of mini bloaters. So if you've played the first one, the bloaters are the big chunky guys that probably take like pretty much most of your ammo to put down on their own, or a couple of bomby like grenades and stuff. These are kind of like smaller versions. I think when I was playing, I think it's 2 close quarter combat shotgun shots will put one down. So
really?
Yeah, okay. Two shotguns to like the face will put it down, or that kind of area. So they're not super like bullet sponge, but they are bigger than a normal person. They do charge forward, and they give off.
They're pretty grim.
Yeah, they give off like acid smoke.
But they're not. They're like pretty. Once you get through the game, they're pretty standard to take down. They're another new type, which wasn't really advertised at all before the game came out, were called Stalkers. Yeah. Which are probably my least favourite thing in the world.
Yeah. They are. I've mixed feelings with them. I really like their introduction, the first time you have one, and then there's a couple of minutes later you have like a whole level based.
Is the first one Boris, the archer dude?
In the garage.
I like that.
and then you have a whole level based around them, kind of. So they basically hide and they kind of wait and look around, and then they'll run away to a different corner and they hide. And a lot of the times they're actually in the wall, so that if you get too close, they'll burst out.
Yeah, if you're not, it's one of those things where if you're not looking, and you just sort of like bombing through somewhere, picking up some tape, picking up a scissors, and then suddenly you will just get jumped. From,
I really like the idea behind them. I thought sometimes it was a bit like they're more there for like a jump scare or like an annoyance, because they don't really do anything to you. They kind of bounce off you and push you, and
you can't. I think you can, but they're a lot harder to melee kill than
the
others.
Because they're a bit more nimble and stuff. But they also just run away as well, and then they hide in another corner and stuff. And it was like, I get it, but considering every other enemy is so hellbent on just blood and coming straight at me, it feels like they're kind of like a weird hybrid of like an innocent human and an infected person, because they don't really engage with you in the same way.
It's interesting, the idea that maybe, because I guess we're maybe like 30 odd years since the outbreak in this game, I think.
No, probably 40.
Even more,
30. It's 30 years after.
Oh, okay. In 2013.
Was it 20 years after? We're probably 30, 40.
Somewhere in there. And I just thought, is this obviously, because they're the Shamblers, there's notes in them, and the idea that they've kind of evolved to this. And I thought it's interesting if the Stalkers are like a way of saying, well, actually, maybe some of them are not getting much joy if they're actually just like walking around trying to kill people, but actually some of them found that by staying in the wall hiding, they get more prey or something. So it's interesting in that. But
definitely.
They were pretty horrendous. But the other one, which was a big surprise, was this thing that's called the Rat King.
Is that what people?
That's its name.
Is that the actual name?
If you go to the model, there's a whole model section in the game where you can see all the character models, and it's called the Rat King. It's essentially a massive boss fight in the hospital that you do as Abby. And it is just this huge
mega
monstrosity,
hulking thing.
Because as you go through the hospital, Nora, one of Abby's friends, says this was one of the first places.
This is the beginning of the infection outbreak.
And so the lower levels of this hospital have never been opened.
Like 30, 40 years they've just been left.
And this thing, it's essentially, I didn't really get this from playing, but through the character models, there's a bloater part of the Rat King. There are stalkers literally on it that eventually start breaking off. And you run through this whole section trying to escape from it, because if it touches you, you die. And you just got to try and kill it. And I literally had maybe a pipe bomb left at the end of this boss. Yeah, I was running around because I think I've been quite liberal with how much weaponry I've used before. And so this thing was just charging, and you have to kind of run into a room, wait for it to come around the corner, just unload whatever weapon you're using on it, then slip through a window or the crack and run to another room, and it's pretty intense. I really enjoyed it. I wasn't sure how when I saw that it was just this boss fight against this huge thing, I was like, oh, I don't know if this is gonna be that good. But it was really intense, as most of the game is. But
that whole level and the lower levels of the hospital is like straight up Resident Evil style gameplay. It really turns into an actual horror game, like a pretty more standard kind of version of a horror game than a Last of Us hybrid. And the boss, I had been super careful with everything I had. So when I fought it was done in about 10 seconds. Because,
really?
Yeah, because I basically immediately had like full amount of fire shotgun bullets. Unloaded it into it. Pipe bomb. The little guy broke off it. I just didn't even look at him. Unloaded the rest of my shotgun bullets straight into it, and the guy fell down. And the little guy ran away. And
it's actually, I think it's scripted that. Because the little guy running off, and
because then you go to another room, and he took like 6 of my hunting bullet shots to take him down. Luckily, you kind of got caught in a loop of animation.
I wasn't very good at using the pipe bombs like on the run, which is why I had left at the end. So I was, unloading all of my pistol, my everything into it, and I was like, oh my gosh.
So I think I ended up, I enjoyed it. I was a bit kind of like, come on, Last of Us, you're better than boss fights. We don't need boss fights. Kind of, we can ratchet up in a different way, type of thing. Because I think that's always been quite nice about it, is that we're moving away from, oh my god, the screen is just filled up with this health bar that we now need to deplete. But I think because I was well prepared and just like lucked out a bit with it. I didn't quite get the experience that I probably should have had, which then I was like, I get it and it's good, I like it, but it wasn't quite like heart racing. Oh my god, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of standout moments, I think that's one. The flashback with the birthday is definitely one. The ending scene with Joel is absolutely fantastic.
I think the kind of open bit when you first get to Seattle with Ellie and Dina.
I was so excited when that having the map and pulling it out and being like crossing stuff off that level. I was like, this feels really natural for the world of The Last of Us to be going, investigating a town basically and going through a city. And it felt so natural the way it all moved and went and got created and how you did things. And then it never comes back to that.
Yeah, that's the only time.
It was a shame because it's like the first real thing you do with Ellie. It's a shame that it doesn't, because I think it actually works really well. I was a bit actually worried before the game came out, like 2 years ago when we're talking about. I was like, oh, I hope they don't go too big with it and stuff. But then when they did, I was like, oh no, I actually think this is quite fresh and quite interesting, and it makes sense with how these players are. It doesn't make sense that every single road you go down there is only one way through because there's cars blocking your way. So it felt really natural and cool. So that was definitely a highlight.
Because you have to go through the synagogue, don't you? I think that's the first bit.
You have like 3 places or 2 places you want to look for gas, and the synagogue's the first one you come across.
That's it. Yeah.
So then you go to the other place.
Yeah, you can, and Dina is like Jewish or something. Like,
I think her family are or something. She's kind of.
You get some cool,
some really nice
insight into that. So I mean, it's such a difficult thing because obviously, on the whole, it's such a horrible story.
Yeah.
That it's hard. I really enjoyed playing it. A lot of like the criticism that I've seen of the story, I don't really agree with. I can see why people do not like it. I totally see why they don't like it, because I don't like the story because I think what happens is so horrendous. But like I said earlier when I was giving my general impressions, I think it just felt right in terms of what could have happened with them making the game.
I think you made a really good point earlier when you said that it's all of what happens in the game, 95% of what happens in the story is very honest for the world of The Last of Us.
Yeah.
I think like that 5% is like, oh, Joel and Tommy just acting like absolute lunatics in front of her and giving out every bit of information. Seeing as Joel is the person who saw someone and just drove straight into them in the first game. Like, there's small bits like that which annoyingly can have big consequences in it, but it's the vast majority of it, the way people act and what happens is, as you say, honest to the world. And I think that's a really good way of putting it, actually. As much as I have issues with characters and what they do and how they act and who they are and stuff, I think that's a very good point about what happens in it, for sure.
And I think as well, the other thing that I think another reason why there's been a lot of pushback against particularly story, I don't really I know you've got some like issues with some of the like stealth stuff and people saying it's an amazing stealth game.
So I think just some people over praising parts that I don't consider amazing. I consider very good, but nothing like special. I think they're just a good component of the game. It's not what I think is special in the game.
Yeah. But it's funny because I as much that I've seen, I've tried to be honest, I've tried to switch my brain off to a lot of it as well. Like we said that we were going to do. I've not really seen much criticism in terms of how you play the game, the things that you do, like the mechanics and that. Most of the criticisms that I've seen are based on the story, and I think a lot of that is, it was 2013 when The Last of Us came out.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of people had those 7 years of going, oh yeah, Joel and Ellie, they're in this nice community, they're getting on great, they're having fun, and this game came in and said, no. No. That's not happened.
That's one of my like biggest things, which is totally on myself with this. But I just it's kind of a twofolded thing in that I never really wanted a sequel to The Last of Us. It was one of those games I was like, this sounds so perfectly on its own as a singular piece. It's like I wouldn't want to see a sequel to Death Stranding. It stands on its own as a singular piece, but then when they announced it, I was like, okay, cool. Okay, we're getting a sequel. Like, I didn't feel like I needed it or wanted it. And one of the big reasons, the kind of second prong of that, was the ending of The Last of Us 1 was such a complicated character moment in my mind for what people were actually thinking or saying or doing with Ellie and Joel, when she's kind of like, right back there with the Fireflies, was it true? And he's like, yes, it was all true. And she's like, promise me. And he's like, yes. And then her response is, well, okay. And it's done in such a way that, like, you can take it as she going, okay, cool, I believe you, kind of. Yeah. Or you can take it as, okay, I believe you, in quotes. I know you're lying, but this is the lie that I need to believe and we need to live and move on with. That's kind of how I actually took it, that she went...
That's how I took it.
Yeah, absolutely. Or you can just take it as fully like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. That's fine then. Kind of, it was just playing in my mind. You can see her as a simpler person than we maybe put her onto.
And I think that's the problem people have, because actually Last of Us 2 just kind of answers that.
That was where I was coming around to, in that I loved what I always loved about the first game was the open nature of that final scene and allowing you to fill in the blanks as to what happened and really think, like, how deep do you want to make these characters in your mind? And then The Last of Us 2, it does answer. It does it in, as you say, kind of the only way that really could have been done.
Yeah.
Or seemingly kind of could have been done. But it is answering it, and that's one of my like hang-ups, which is it influences my thoughts in the game, but also is just a kind of almost a separate point kind of from it all. But I still think it is a great game. I think some of the writing is fantastic. I think some of the direction of the scenes is just phenomenal. Some of the best. Obviously, it is the best looking game I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think the only other thing I would say as like a criticism towards it, like there's very small things and stuff. There's so many things I love about the game as well.
Yeah.
Is I think I may have said this to you a little while ago, in that people writing books and making films have editors that come in and do stuff. And I'm sure there is that with games as well. But I felt like this game could have done with an editor going, this is long, by the way.
It is a long game.
This is like 25 hours at a minimum. And that is long for a single player linear story game. It could have done with some trimming of some fat in places. And in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, because I think some people also love it for the way it does it, I think the reset of the whole game to effectively start a brand new game halfway through felt quite jarring, and maybe there was a better way to meld the two of them interwoven as a thing. It's very intentional the way they do it.
Yeah.
But I think I would have connected better if things dually were happening kind of. I think
I think that's a totally valid criticism of the game, because I remember when I started as Abby, and obviously I knew I was going to play as Abby, I was almost expecting to have certain upgrades already.
Yes,
and because obviously she's like trained, she's pretty renowned by the WLF as a killer. Like she's like one of the best infected killer that the WLF has. And I kind of thought, oh, she could probably have had a lot of these upgrades already.
Yeah.
Like, do I believe that she only realised that she could make shivs to kill clickers when she picked that manual up to do it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like she'd have known that.
Yeah.
So I think that's totally a valid criticism of the game. And one thing I think is interesting, and like you actually said in your wrap up before we went into spoilers, you said that you felt the game was quite bold. And I totally agree. And I think one of the biggest things that I thought was bold about this, it's not necessarily that the fact that they killed Joel in the first 2 hours. Yeah, that's bold, but that's not the bold thing in this game.
Absolutely not.
The bold thing in this game is, I genuinely think if you took a straw poll of everyone who's actually played the game, and said, "Do you when you got to the end of this game? Did you like Abby?"
Yeah.
And I think those people that say no, and if you looked at that and you said the people that said yes, I think that's probably the people that liked the game and didn't like the game. And I'm not saying that I got to the end of the game and I was like, oh, I love Abby. She was great. I loved it when she caved Joel's head in with that golf club. But I got to the end of the game and I was like, yeah, okay, I understand what you did, and I think that might even be what the split is between people, and the bold thing from Naughty Dog was going, we're gonna try and take this guy Joel and have you kind of try and empathize with his killer.
Yeah.
I think that was the bold choice that they made.
That is a very bold narrative choice to do in a relatively immature medium.
Yeah.
Of storytelling. So I think that's why it comes across so divisive.
Yeah,
in
sure.
That aspect, like that feeding back into that, I would say at the end of the game, I didn't really empathize with Abby that much, just because there was various things she did I just didn't really agree with, and I couldn't really understand that well. But you play with her for so long, I was like, I feel like I couldn't not be like, oh, I hope she doesn't die. Like I was definitely in that mindset. I was like, I hope she doesn't die. Like
I've heard genuine reviews from people who in like games that there are games journalists who said, oh yeah, in that boss fight there, I let Ellie kill me like 5 times.
Yeah.
And I was like, really?
So
like
that's
damn. Like
in my opinion, that like shows the immaturity of the medium that we're dealing with, and that like people. I think I understood her. By the end of it, I was like, I've played as this person for 12 hours. I don't want them to die. This is my character. With Ellie, I also felt quite. I think this might have been another thing I kind of said, or maybe I said it to someone else. A back foot moment for me, starting on the back foot, was I just don't think Ellie is as good of a character as Joel, or as interesting, and that was like a back foot already, and going, I like Ellie. I really like her. She was great in the first game, and she was so important to the dynamic of that game. But when now playing as her, I'm like, I'm not really feeling anything like other than the emotional narrative.
Yeah. And I think what sucks is, and I think I'm not trying to, this isn't an argument against what you just said, because I totally agree with you. But I think you see the reasoning for that through those cutscenes, and the loss of trust she had in Joel. And that's why, and the fact that she's a lesbian, and she's obviously seen abuse for that from the reaction that she had from the dude at the dance at the end. She was like, I think he calls her a dyke, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
And her reaction is like, like that, like as though she's seen it all before.
Yeah,
which sucks that even in like 40 years, in an apocalypse, that still exists. And but the problem with that is that she, and I actually heard someone else give a really good criticism of her as a character, that she's so cold and just doesn't want to talk things through. Like, oh my god, talk to each other.
Yeah, she is.
Please talk.
She is so, and this is the point, but she is so bad as a human being.
Yeah.
In this game, specifically in this game, she is a terrible human being. She has no like redeeming part to how she acts, or she doesn't try to fix things really. She just wallows in
the violence and the revenge. And I think that I almost want to like backtrack, and I don't want to say, I don't mean to say, did you like Abby at the end? Because actually, no, I didn't like Abby. I didn't like Ellie.
Exactly.
I guess in the game,
was the double point there, and which is
I like Dina. I like JJ.
Yeah.
I hope they're happy.
Which in itself is an interesting construct. I don't know whether I doubt they probably went in with the idea of, we're gonna make 2 horrible people and try and get the player to empathize with. They probably went, these are 2 of our cool characters that we're making, and we're gonna make them complex and stuff. It's certainly a hard decision to go, you're gonna play as the 2 baddies.
Yeah.
There's no goodies in this. You're gonna play as the baddies, by the way.
That's true.
Enjoy.
Yeah.
So you've got to applaud them for trying something like that, especially in the biggest AAA game, well, like arguably the biggest AAA game and the biggest AAA studio around.
Yeah.
Is fantastic to see that. I just wish it wasn't quite the way it was.
Yeah.
As much as I love what they did, kind of.
Last, I do want us to wrap up because we've talked for ages. But there's one more thing I kind of want to talk about, and it's been brought up by some people, and it was something that people had as a criticism to Last of Us 1. Was the fact that obviously, you get to the end of Last of Us 1 and Joel kills the doctor and saves Ellie.
Yeah.
And that's Joel's decision. That's not your decision.
Yeah.
And I think, and I've heard people say, I wish I had the choice at the end of maybe Last of Us 2. Do I kill Abby?
Or do I let her go?
As Ellie, do I not kill her? And I almost think like, how interesting... not for me personally. I'm glad that they didn't put any choices like this in the game. For me personally, I know that that's not definitive or anything.
Sure.
But people were saying, wouldn't it be interesting if you had the choice as Ellie to actually keep Abby under the water and kill her? But then I actually think, what if you go one further? What if that whole ending section of the game could have just been the flip? What if you had the option of playing on as Abby and it's Ellie that's been kidnapped?
At that point, do you know
what I mean?
And
you can choose. Do I play as Ellie and kill Abby, or let her go?
Yeah.
Or do I play as Abby and kill Ellie or let her go?
Yeah.
Do you think that it could have been improved? Do you think it would have been better if there'd been a choice in that? Maybe not the extreme one I said as playing as Abby and killing Ellie.
I like that idea.
Do you think if the choice was in there as Ellie to leave Abby or kill her, would that have been a better thing? Because or not?
The objective betterness of it, kind of whether it's better, is tricky because
would you have preferred it?
Yeah, out of frustration whilst playing it. Like I'm not going to lie. By the end of this game, as I've kind of said, I like the game. It just didn't give me the Last of Us love impression kind of type thing. So, but there was a point where I was thinking, I don't know if I'm going to finish this game because I'm having such a torrid time with it. I wanted then to label the game as a negative against it, saying there's no player agency, because not a single main character do you kill. It all happens in cutscenes. Yeah. Every single character that happens, any decessive moment that happens is done through cutscenes. There's
not
one
even,
or two.
The Nora thing.
The Nora thing
doesn't count.
It doesn't count, exactly. Yeah. There's no player agency in those moments. I was levying that as a negative because I was grasping for any negative I could try and find, and that's being totally honest about how I was feeling about it. I don't think it's a valid, true criticism. I do think player agency in gaming is important because inherently a game is something you interact with, so it has to be interactive. However, there is only a certain way you can do certain narrative beats and moments and stuff. So I think there's a place to have the narrative guiding you and forcing you to do things because of what they want the story to be. Bringing in a choice at the end, almost in my mind, kind of feels as bold as not having it, because not having it is just doubling down on, right, yeah, this is the story we're telling, and there's nothing you can do about this world or the story. This is what happens. The only way you cannot have this happen is by turning off the game. Type of thing. That's the only option you have in the game. And having one choice at the end could have peaked that as, because a lot of it seems to be like asking you the question, can you empathize and get over your high horse of being angry about Abby and start understanding her side? And can you understand why Ellie is turned into an absolute monster? It's not her just being a bad person. It's because of all these different things that have happened and have led to this place. Can you understand those things and comprehend them and put them all together? Now we're going to give you that moment and go, right, put what we've just taught you in action. Yeah. Like that could be such an interesting thing where people who would go, right, I'm going to kill Abby as Ellie. And it's kind of like, right, you take that as your, right, it's only because the game didn't convince me that I wanted to feel empathy towards her. Yeah. Or you can take it as, no, I just cannot, I have to do this. I have to see the end of Ellie's story. Or you have the opposite side where you think maybe initially they would have done the drowning, but now through playing the game, they're like, no, I would keep Abby alive because I can see the flip side. I think it would add one last like question towards the player, which I quite like the idea of it, but then I don't know, like these games are so singular in the story they tell, so it fully breaks that.
You're just there for the ride, really. You're not the...
Yeah, you're inputting to see the story. What do you think?
It's tricky because I totally get what you're saying. It's like, it's almost like a...
I quite like the psychological...
Have you learnt the lesson?
Have you learned the lesson of what we're trying to say, kind of like, well, whether I agree with the lesson or not, or whatever. Has this game had the impact that we've wanted it to have? Have we succeeded? It's kind of like a... Did we do good moment?
And that's the problem, because I was thinking, how funny would it be if you had like a telltale screen at the end? It was like,
what percentage?
You and 64% of people saved Abby or whatever. Like, but then I don't think you wouldn't get that because you wouldn't have them advertising 90% of people drowned Abby.
Yeah. I will just add, if I was given that choice, I would have saved her.
Yeah, I would have as well. Yeah. Pretty, yeah, I don't know where else to go, because I mean, I guess the next natural thing to say is, will there be a part 3? And I think that's part of the reason why I don't think they would put a choice in, because I kind of think maybe there might be.
I think this feels very like this is continuing.
Yeah. And that's why, you know, I know some companies do this. Like, for example, I'm going to talk about Dragon Age Origins because BioWare. But they obviously, there's millions of choices you can make in Origins, and then when you start 2, you can load your save, or you can go online and do a thing to say what you chose, and then that's your canon going into Dragon Age 2. But Naughty Dog don't strike me as the company to go, oh yeah, you could choose to either save Ellie or let the Fireflies kill her and have a cure. Yeah. But actually, this is the canon story. Yeah. Naughty Dog don't strike me as the company to put something or let you play something out, and then the next game go, actually, that's not the real thing.
This is the canon ending.
So that for me, that makes me think the reason we didn't get that choice, maybe part of that is maybe there is going to be a part 3. I don't. Obviously, we won't see it for a very long time, if so. But I just don't. I don't even want to think of what could happen in the game.
No, absolutely. But my gut feeling is there will be another Last of Us game.
Yeah, especially because, like, you know, it's, you know, regardless of how it's done. Critically, it's done very well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's critical and commercial darling.
So well. So, you know, maybe as the PS5 cycle goes on, if Sony, you know,
we'll see it in 2027, in the last year of the PlayStation 5. Yeah, Last of Us 3 will come out, and it will just be like every last year of a console, a Last of Us game will come out and kick up a storm.
Yeah, I can't help but like, I know right now I'm so burnt out, and I'm like, and part of my burnt out is because of all the discourse that we're not going to talk about. Yeah. But I'm so burnt out. But then part of me just thought of myself being like in my mid 30s, and then just seeing like Sony Studios come up, and then like just this like guitar start, and then and me just sitting there with like, I've got like a 2-year-old kid, and me just going like, oh my god, Ellie. Or you just see someone like cross their arms, and you see they've like missing two fingers, and I'm just going, oh she's back.
No doubt it will be that
will be the reveal in the trailer. Well, when we do Bomb Squad episode 250 in 2027, that will be the reveal in the trailer, will be her fingers.
And I'm going to guarantee the reveal will be like that. The game will be you. So I don't know if you remember, like on the first, when it becomes a big open area as Ellie in day 1, the next place you go to, you fight quite a few wolves, WLF fighters there. There's this guy on top of a roof. It's his daughter who is going to be the main character. Yeah. For because you brutally killed him. So
no, I think actually
do you play as a pup? You play as Alice's.
I was literally just going to say you play as Alice's puppy.
Yeah.
And you at the game ends, and you've got your jaws on Ellie's throat, but then you get a flashback to Abby petting you when you're a puppy.
Oh my god. Enough Last of Us. Yeah. Enough Last of Us.
Yeah. I love that.
That's that is The Last of Us Part 2. Yeah. It's a fascinating experience, and a very interesting point in gaming.
Yeah. Ghost of Tsushima, eh?
Yeah. Open world games. Right. So thank you very much for listening. As always, you can find us on Twitter.
Yeah, and Instagram now.
In Dreams Club, at In Dreams Clubs on both of those. Go check out our podcast, Real Eyes, about film and TV. We're probably going to have a couple of episodes coming up with that quite soon. It's kind of we don't normally do that as regularly as this one, but we've got a couple in the pipeline that'll be happening soon.
The Dark Knight will be soon, maybe not the next couple.
Yeah, I feel like we say that every week.
Dark Knight is coming.
It is coming one day. I think that's.
YouTube. There's a few videos.
YouTube. Yes, we've got the tier list.
So we've talked about PlayStation exclusives before Last of Us Part 2. It'd be interesting where we were. Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima before then. We've done a tier list of all of them. We did a tier list on the Star Wars movies, and we're going to be doing an episode of Real Eyes on Star Wars very soon. And the most recent we did was as a UK soft drink, Fizzy Pop.
Yeah,
Fizzy Pop. I've also done a video about the Witcher series, the first Witcher book. I did a review of that on YouTube as well. So, yeah, enjoy.
Fantastic stuff. Well, thank you so much for listening as always, and we will see you next time. Boy!
Yes, you are a cunt. Yes, you are a cunt. Oh no! I've been done.
I got you.
Done.
You have been fooled, Mr. Boy.
Fool of a talk.